Have you ever experienced looking in the mirror only to feel that feeling of your heart dropping into your stomach because you notice some subtle or some not so subtle changes about your face? And you realize, like, you hear the unfamiliar whisper from reality saying, "You're getting older." Things are changing. It happens to everybody. Aging, getting older, that realization that time's moving fast and it's passing us by. It can be a scary thing to experience, and I think everyone experiences it throughout various different stages of life. Whether you're 18 years old and you're just starting to form your adult body, or you're 80 years old and you're noticing new little changes every day, little things that were never there, and having to update your identity for yourself. You know, the past year or so has been what I call an opportunity for growth. It's been a year where it's like I've noticed little subtle changes in how I look, and I've had to start updating my self-image and the things that I have to accept are going to be like that going forward, or continue becoming more obvious. You know, the funny thing is, when I shaved my head a few years ago, I thought like, okay, that was an insecurity I had to get over. But I realized, okay, well, at least for the next 20 years, I'll probably look the same. I don't got to worry about too much else changing. And I thought that way until I started seeing other things changing about my appearance. It feels like every day for the past year, whenever I walk by a mirror and I look at myself, I don't look at myself in my eyeball. I look at two main things that have become somewhat of insecurities. It's become my radar focus. You know, the first thing I notice about myself when I look in the mirror is like updating myself on all the gray hairs I have, decorating my beard. Maybe a year ago, I started seeing a couple here and there, and I thought, meh, they're probably just little like accidents of the body. But then every week, I'm noticing more and more that like I'm starting to get this little like white patch on my neck, and I just kind of see it kind of spreading out and developing. And at first, I thought maybe it was because I was stressed. Meh, it wasn't really that, or that I wasn't taking enough supplements. But it was none of that. It's just you're getting older, and in my case, it's actually hereditary. You know, my mom always told me that, like, for her and her mom and her mom's mom, they started going like gray or white, like in their 30s, and they would have been like completely like gray if they didn't dye their hair. So I just thought it would skip my generation or skip me, and it turns out it didn't. And so you know, I had to get used to that, accept that over the next few years I'm gonna have a lot of gray, a lot of white in my beard. It's all, you know, salt and peppery. And the second thing I started to notice when I look in the mirror is not looking at what's in my eyes, but what's under my eyes. I started noticing like the skin or like the eye muscles kind of, I don't know, almost like being a bit looser, if that makes sense. Like the bags start to form, especially when the lighting's bad. I realized like one day I was out taking pictures with my partner, and I looked at the pictures, I was reviewing them, and I was like, holy, what's going on with my eyes? I didn't know if I was like having an allergic reaction or what. It's like, nah. And then I actually soon after that found out that it runs on my dad's side of the family. I didn't grow up really seeing my dad or my grandfather at all, so I never really knew what they looked like in their older age. And I saw some pictures, I was like, oh, okay, that's probably it. I went to a naturopath to make sure. I was like, do I need more magnesium or iron? But no, this is like these eye bags started forming, and I've been kind of self-conscious about it, because it's a sign of me getting older, it's a sign of me changing. It's like, it's a change that I wasn't able to control. It wasn't a health-related thing. It's just an inheritance, a genetic inheritance that I got. So it's been challenging, to be completely honest. You know, in my case, when I started seeing these changes, I started doing a lot of research, wondering like, okay, you know, I'm getting the bags under my eyes. I'm getting like grays in my beard. Am I stressed out? No, not really. Do I get enough sleep? No, not really. You're Googling. What do I need to take? Do I need to put some type of oils or serums under my eyes? Do I need to lotion more? What is it? When I went to naturopath, she's like, oh yeah, I'll take some magnesium, because I had some twitching under my eyes too. So I was like, okay, maybe the twitching and the bags, maybe it's something. And then the magnesium actually worked to stop the muscle twitching, but the bag still stayed. I thought maybe it's looking at my computer too much. You know, you start going through these stages of denial, stages of grief, starting with denial. And then you come to acceptance. You're like, it's just a change in how I look. There's no big deal. I'm still the same. And maybe you're gonna realize that too. If you haven't experienced it, maybe you will. And you come back to this video and you realize, like, yeah, I'm going through that. It's not easy. It's challenging. Changing your self-image and how you view yourself, how you know yourself to look. If you've ever gone through this, or you are going through it, or you eventually go through it, I just want to reassure you that it's not the end of the world. And as big as it seems in the moment, as much of your mental energy as it takes, you know, there's a saying, energy flows where focus goes. And the more time and effort you focus on the insecurities, fighting it, denying it. The more energy focus goes there, and the more you get mentally strained, your energy feels low because it's being so concentrated on this one insignificant thing, seemingly significant, but in reality, insignificant thing. If you've been following the videos I've made on this channel for at least a year, you might have seen a video I made where I was sharing a list of all my insecurities. And I'll link it up above so you can see it if you haven't. But the reason I did that was because I felt like expressing my insecurities, actually like speaking it and knowing that someone can hear it, was the final stage of me coming to terms with those particular insecurities. And no longer like resisting it, no longer trying to hide it or deny it to myself. You know, there's another saying that what you resist persists. You know, what you resist persists. And with things like aging, things like getting older, these superficial, like literally skin deep things that we concern ourselves with, the more we resist it, the more we try to fight it, the more it persists. The more it stays in our mind, it stays like a burden, a stumbling block in our mind. And for me, and I highly suggest you do the same thing, make a list of your insecurities. Admit to yourself, okay, these are things that I'm not too happy about, but I understand that's outside of my control, and it's who I am. And the sooner you accept it and you embrace it and you acknowledge it, writing it down in a list is a good idea. You don't have to make a video like I did, but just acknowledging it. It can change how it affects you, because you're no longer resisting it, and so it no longer persists. You know, when thinking about this idea, this topic, I kind of realized that there's a certain natural shift we go through in our life where when you're younger, everything's really surface level. It's almost superficial. You know, we make friends and we look at people and find them interesting based off of how they look, what they're wearing, maybe the different styles they have, the way they sound. It's very surface level. And then as we get older, we start shifting to a point where we put less and less focus and emphasis on how somebody looks, or at least some people do, and we put more and more emphasis on things that are really truly important, like our values, the things we have in common, our interests, the depth of our conversations, the way we think, the things that we find interesting, the things that light us up, that become a passion for us. We love hearing each other's stories and life experiences as a conscious being. We go way deeper as we mature. It's an interesting phenomenon of life. How as we start losing the thing that we once found so valuable, we start appreciating the things that people actually have control over, the things that about an individual that they actually can be given credit for, because they chose to go down that path. You know, we can't be given credit for how we look. So it's funny how we place so much importance on an aspect of ourselves that was completely out of our control. With moderation, yeah, you can work out and eat right, but for the most part, how we look and how it changes is out of our control. It feels like we entered into this phase of existence at some point where there's a moment of existential clarity, and we start realizing all the shallow things about each other isn't worth our time and appreciation, and there's so much more valuable things that go on and that makes up somebody on the inside that we all have, that you have. Sometimes I think about how funny it is that we put such a large emphasis on how everyone looks and the cosmetic things. Because, you know, think about the greatest pleasures you have in life. Well, what aspects of life make it great? You know, it's the novel experiences you have, to be able to experience things through your senses, how things hear, like music, and how things look like art, the relationships you get to build with people, tasting new food, being able to having the ability to recall those experiences through memory. You know, the greatest experiences of life have very little to do with how individuals look. So it's funny how we put such an emphasis on it, and aging seems so scary sometimes. One of my biggest beefs with life is how we reach our natural peaks like one third through a life, sometimes even 1/4 depending on how long you live. You know, when you're 18 to 25 as a male, I guess, like physically in you're in your best form, right? Now maybe you might have been overweight when you're younger and you're healthiest at 40, but like our natural primes, like our top peak, if we really put effort into it, is going to be in our early 20s. And even that's weird. It's such a weird aging process to know that you're going to live to 80 or 90 years old, but you peak out at 20? You peak out like a third or a quarter way through life? It's so weird. Oh man, aging. Talking about aging and the change that you have in our faces and our bodies and stuff. I was on Instagram the other day and I saw, and this kind of saddens me. I saw this girl. She was 23, she said, And she was talking about her desire and her experience of getting Botox in her eyes to lift her kind of her eyebrows up and to, I don't know, firm up the skin around her eyes. And like no judgment at all. Like people can do whatever they want, to each their own. It absolutely doesn't concern me. But it saddens me a little bit when I see that, because think about it from a mental health point of view. If you're 23, and by the way, this girl she's beautiful, and so it made me think. It's like if you're this beautiful at this young of an age, at, your early 20s, where your skin is the firmest it's ever going to be, and you have a hard time accepting yourself when in the most ideal of situations, man, how challenging is the next 60 years going to be? I hope that, she can do whatever she does now, but I hope that she learns to just accept the changes. When I started seeing the grays in my beard, I started thinking like, should I buy some of those like beard darkeners? Should I dye my beard? I'm just like, nah, man, just the idea of maintaining that and fighting and resisting the inevitable. Why? What's the point? What am I doing that for? And it's never a good answer. I'm sure you think of these insecurities you have, and it's like sometimes you look at it and you're like, man, why does this have to happen to me? And then other times you look at it and it's like, why am I tripping? Like, why am I bugging out about this little change in how my face looks? Like, whatever. To worry about aging is to engage in a never-ending battle that you're never gonna win. And it's so strange to age. As you get older, like that's a privilege. There was time periods not very long ago where the average age was 30. The life expectancy was in the 30s. Now we have life expectancies till up into the 80s. So we literally live 2.5, maybe sometimes 3 times longer than the average human now, than I believe just even like a few hundred years ago. It's amazing. It's a beautiful gift, an experience of a result of human perseverance, to be able to see yourself change and develop, not just physically but mentally. I feel like we put so much more energy into focusing on the disadvantages of aging and not realizing the wealth of advantages that come from being able to get older, that privilege. I just remembered a quote that's actually from Jim Rohn. He said something along the lines of, don't seek for things to be easier, seek for you to get stronger, right? And in the same way, it's like, don't seek to constantly look younger, but instead seek to embrace getting older. Seek to love yourself through every stage of life, every developmental stage of life. And no matter what stage it's in, whether it's you're 10 years old or you're 100 years old, there's constantly disadvantages and advantages to it. And for some reason, we put an overwhelming emphasis on the downsides of aging and don't even have any clue. We don't put any emphasis and really appreciate all the benefits, all the joys and experiences of going through the different ages of life. And I don't want to front like I'm over this superficial stuff, and I don't take joy from getting compliments or seeing that I'm well put together and getting in better shape or dressing up. Like I still have those appreciations for those experiences. I'm not gonna act like I don't have an ego. I have an ego. Trust me, it's there. But one thing I refuse to do, and I've never done, if I can pat myself in the back, one thing I've never done is valued my cosmetic appearance or what people think of how I look over the value I place on who I am as an individual, my thought process, my interests, my likes, my character, the value I bring on the inside internally. Because all that stuff, all that cosmetic stuff, you can't control that. So you should, why do we give credit to people based off of how they look? The real value is in what you can control, who you are as an individual, what you do for the world, how you act to people. And sometimes back to Instagram, I hate to rag on it, but when you see some people on there and the only value they seem to express is around how they look, you get no insight into who they are as a person. It seems like they've devalued that. They've kind of tossed it aside and they just put all their focus on how they look, and maybe it's a side effect of the attention they got when they're younger, and the only attention came from how they look. Like I don't envy those people. I don't want to say it's wrong, but I don't envy it. And I'm glad I've never had my life go down that path to where I put such a high value on looks of myself or others and didn't focus on the truly impressive things about an individual, the way they've navigated into life and their experiences and their thoughts and their opinions and their beliefs and their zest for life. Those things seem so much more important to me, and I hope that you realize that you are not how you look. You are the consciousness within. It's a beautiful thing when you start to have self-awareness of that, and you develop self-love. That's what self-love is. It's acceptance and wanting the best for the individual, you. So just know that you're not your appearance. As much as the world and media and society and music and social media would have you think that your appearance is who you are, you're not. You're not your hair. You're not your eye bags. You're not the grays in your beard, or the lack of hair you have on your head. You're not the wrinkles. You're not how you're dressed. You're not your style. You're not any of those things. And most importantly, you're not a number. You're not your age. You're the consciousness. You're the consciousness living within that is capable of connecting with people, bringing value to others, and receiving value. You're the thing that's aware of itself, and you're experiencing and walking through this world, and you're interacting and serving people. You're engaging in a constant state of exchange of value with other people, and you have control over that. Change the things that you can, and change how you think about the things that you can't. The things we can control, like exercising, how well we eat, how much we stimulate our minds. Not only are these important things that give us a greater experience of life, but they also contribute to how young we feel, our energy levels. It's no doubt that if you eat healthy and you exercise, your skin looks better. You have less excess weight on your body. You're able to think faster, and you're sharper. You're more reactive. By reactive, I mean you're able to react to things, like you're mentally there. All those things are super important and should be focused on if you ask me. That's a priority. And for me, I'm well aware that I'm going to see more changes about myself as I age in different stages of my life that I'm not going to be happy with. But what I hope I'm going to be able to do and continue to push forward with, and I hope you do the same, is to, instead of resisting them, embracing them. Finding a certain joy and happiness in seeing that you're going through another stage of life. In my case, as time continues going on and I continue to notice things about myself that's changing, instead of putting all my energy on that and focusing on that, what I really want to do is instead embrace it and only continue feeding energy and nurturing that childlike spirit inside of every one of us that is so desperate to come back out. That zest and wonder for life that we used to have before we started feeding into our insecurities and our worries and our concerns. Tap into that child, that spirit inside of you that wants to be let out and be able to let its curiosity run rampant. This is a lesson I'm constantly having to remind myself. Get back to experiencing that childlike wonder. I remember reading someone say, as a child, all your attention is focused on trying to understand and learn how things work and becoming an adult, figuring out who you're supposed to be as an adult. And then once you get to an adulthood, then you're focused on peeling off all the stuff that you learn and you realize isn't worth it, and getting back to being like a kid. 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, they're not looking at themselves in the mirror and asking themselves what they like or dislike about their body. They're just amazed that they have an image. We lose having that open space to just look and experience and wonder and enjoy and appreciate and figure out what this life is meant to be for them. What our meaning of life is. Recognizing that you're not just perceiving the universe, you're part of it. And there's so much to discover. Like, life is a gift because of those things. The ability to learn and the ability to be self-aware. And it's a shame that we use our self-awareness to focus on how we appear and how we appear to other people. That's what we use self-awareness for? It's a gift and we're wasting it. I hope you took something from this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can watch some of my other videos here, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.